The doctor could not heal herself in the job that was harming her. Many Black women contact me and ask me, can you teach me how to heal in a toxic job? And my response is always the same. I cannot tell you or show you how to heal in the same environment that is harming you. So today we're going to be talking about healing from toxic jobs. Today I have my friend here today, Dr. Pamela Buchanan, and we're going to be talking about different ways to heal from a toxic job. But spoiler alert, it's often not while you're still at the toxic job. Okay. Spoiler alert. And also want to mention that Dr. Buchanan is one of our outstanding speakers for the Job Liberation Virtual Summit coming up for Black women, the third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit. Dr. Pamela Buchanan is going to be on the panel talking about healing from toxic jobs. So again, information about the summit is available in the description section of this video. Also going across the screen, it's May 1st through the 3rd. The summit is not only for Black women who are trying to leave an exit plan from toxic jobs, but also Black women who've been pushed out of the labor market. So healing actually starts after you leave a toxic job. At the summit, you will learn about how to replace your income, whether it's you going to another job or you're starting your own business. Also, to identify your options for replacing your benefits, so your health insurance, your retirement, as well as creating multiple streams of income, and so much more. As a privacy consideration, no summit attendees will be seen on camera. You also have an option to attend anonymously, okay? Only summit speakers will be seen on camera. We also have a payment plan option this year as well, okay? So Dr. Buchanan, can you please introduce yourself?
Didn't you already do that? I'm Dr. Pamela Buchanan. I'm a physician. I've been doing that for 20 years. I've worked in private practice and emergency room. And that's hardly anything that can be more toxic.
Ooh, okay. So, but we're going to get into it, okay? And I forgot to introduce myself. So if you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I've been licensed for over 20 years. I'm also a toxic job survivor, but I love to say I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I'm also the co-founder with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. So Dr. Buchanan, let's get right into it. Okay, my friend. Okay. So what were some of the experiences that, because you've told me about a number of experiences because you've been on my channel sometimes, right? A few times.
Mhm.
So what were some of the experiences that you had at toxic jobs that you would consider to be toxic? What were some of those experiences for those people who have not seen your story before?
Oh, well, when we're groomed from the time we started medicine to be a martyr, to like put yourself on the line, to work through the pain, to come in sick. I've seen people give themselves their own IV and
Oh,
continue to work. That
oh,
means you should, if you need an IV, you should be home or in
mm-mm,
the hospital. You don't keep working, and just working through it because like no one else can do it.
mm-hmm,
So, and I lived like that the whole time in my career until the pandemic, because then in the pandemic, you know, we didn't have any colleagues die at our hospital, but it happened at others. But we did have colleagues get sick, go to the ICU, and can't work. And guess what? The world went on. And so it dispelled the myth that only you can do it. You must do it. I've had some behavior where I'd be on vacation. This sticks out in my mind. I remember I worked a lot more than my peers during the pandemic. I just never got sick, so I worked a lot of hours. They were giving out bonuses. They knew a single parent needed that money, so I was just working. It was exhausting. And then when we finally got a breather and the world opened up a little bit, we were on restrictions, but you could go places. I remember going to Vegas, and I was out of town, and I live in Missouri, so Vegas a couple hours difference. And my phone just kept ringing off the hook, 3 o'clock in the morning. When it's ring like that, you think, who died? What happened? Is there an emergency? And so I answered the phone. It's the job. They're like, we need you to cover a shift. We're short. And I was like, I'm on vacation. And they said, well, can you come back early? I was like, what? How could you even ask that? I need this vacation. And just stuff like that. It's like when they don't care about you.
right. So no respect for boundaries whatsoever. And then you were working at a very high stress. Well, first of all, ER, it's high stress, but then during that time was extremely stressful. And so you also told us a number of times about a series of very stressful disrespectful encounters that you've had with patients as well. And so you have to like juggle all these different things. And I'm wondering, as a Black woman physician, you go through so much training, but there's also a level of disrespect that you also have encountered as well that contributes to the toxicity. Can you share with the audience, again, who are not familiar with their story, about the toxicity that you encounter from patients?
It changed after the pandemic. It really changed after Obama's presidency. It really just changed.
Mhm,
People were less, I don't know, what is the word? Fake nice, at least be fake nice. People were less cordial. I'll say it like
mhm,
that.
mhm,
Um, and so they said the quiet thing out loud.
mhm,
And it really became compressed after the pandemic because people were so angry. I live in the Midwest. It's a very red state. And I've never been called the N word more than in the since the pandemic. It's
mhm,
like people don't even care that they're saying that word. I
mhm,
remember, I was taking care of a particular patient, and he had COVID for sure. And test was positive. Plus, he could barely breathe. And I came in, all professional, and saying, "Hey, sir, so your test results have come back, and your test is positive for COVID." And he says, "So the N-word doctor says I had COVID." That's what he said to someone he was talking on the phone to. It reverberated throughout the ER. Like the nurses were like shocked and everything. And even someone who was in a trauma bay having chest pain, he was shocked. And I had to calm the nurses down. And sadly enough, I said, everybody calm down. It's not the
mhm,
first time I've been called that. And
mhm,
just let's get back to work. And I took care of him. You can't let it block you because he was in dire. Finished taking care of him. He could breathe better, speaking
mhm,
complete sentences, and he was being admitted to the hospital.
mhm.
As he was going up to be admitted, he said, "I'm sorry, I normally don't talk like that." Or he said, "That's not who I really am." I said, "Sir, that's absolutely who you are. Do better." I'm like, "I'm not gonna sit here and let you lie to me. Do better." And
Right.
what's so jacked up is there's two Black doctors in that hospital system. Me and my friend who was the hospitalist. And we always share stories. And so she called me back down in the ER. She called me. She's like, "What did you send me?" I was like, "What? What's wrong?" And she said, "This hot mess called me an N word and said you were an N word." And she says, "I said I couldn't help myself. But I told him, well, it looks like today an N word saved your life."
Oh.
Yeah.
So okay. What I love about you is that you're always able to kind of spin stuff around, right? Yet, continually to experience stuff like that, I can imagine kind of takes a toll, right? And so the racism you said was just out and open, just rampant, 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 right? So when you were experiencing all the increased workload, all the stuff you were seeing with the pandemic, all that stuff, what impact would you say that had on you during that time?
You know, it's true, the body keeps score. And what it really did for me is it just was constant stress and it affected my mental health.
Mhm,
And it accelerated the burnout. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's
mhm.
hard to take care of people who don't have respect for you and don't humanize you.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. And so were you recognizing at the time, this job is harming me, this is not good for me, I need to start getting out? Or were you saying things that a lot of us say, I got this, I'm okay, you know what, I can manage this?
You know what? I should have planned better, but I was like, I want to do anything but this. I got to get out of this.
Mm,
And just no, I wasn't saying this is normal. I knew that wasn't normal, and I
mhm,
knew it wasn't good.
mhm,
Anybody who had to work during the ER, during the pandemic, during the ER, that's not normal.
mhm,
Um, and so I started to think, well, what else could be doing? What else is possible? Because I didn't want to. Here's what helped me, and it's
mhm,
not great, but a colleague died by suicide during that time, and
mm,
he's an ER doctor. So I was like, if he could do it, I could. I need to make sure that I'm okay. I need to get into a better environment
mhm,
um, because my kids needed me. My kids are the North Star. And
Mhm.
so, no, I didn't want to stay. You know, you
Mhm.
did what you had to do. Lights got to stay on, gas got to get paid, roof over the head, all the things.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I started to figure out what else is possible.
Hmm. So you start thinking about exit strategies, like how do I get out of this situation?
Yeah, definitely looking for different hospitals if I'm going to work at different hospitals, then looking for alternative streams of income. And that's
Mm,
what I really think I am bullish on. Every physician should have some alternative stream of income because the way these hospitals don't care about you. And I just don't think medicine can be done full time for an extended period of time.
mm,
The older I get, the more I realize that the way that they used to work, the doctors before us, it's not possible right now without significant psychological harm. And
mm,
I think it may have caused a lot of psychological harm to our predecessors too, because many of them were alcoholics. Many of them divorced, isolated from their family, and their children hate them, like
ooh,
vehemently hate them. So,
mm,
they might not admit it was toxic and just say that's how it is, but
mhm,
it is.
mm,
It's awful. And so
yeah,
I didn't want my children going, mom's never around, I can't stand her. I did not want my body to break down and
mhm,
completely fall apart. And I
mhm.
didn't want to go nuts. I didn't want to lose my mental capacity.
Right, right, right. And we've talked a number of times about some very sobering statistics that I don't think that most people know about. So one, you told me about the average uh, age or death of a ER doctor, which I thought was
Mm.
shocking. Can you talk a little bit about that first?
Yeah, a couple statistics that really stopped me dead in my tracks. And I
Mhm,
oftentimes speak of them when I speak is that there was a small study and it said that the average emergency room doctor dies at the age of 57. And I'm like, I'm too close to that number. I don't want to be dead, in the next 8 years. I don't want that. So that was one of the reasons I was like, let me figure something else out because
mm,
numbers are numbers. And
mhm.
then one doctor per day dies by suicide, at least. We think the number is higher.
Wow.
So, there's a high amount of depression and suicidality in physicians. I didn't even know that. It's like
Mm,
the industry's dirty secret. And
yeah,
there's not really mental health services that are readily available to doctors
mhm,
and nurses. And it should be automatic. I think it should be ingrained. I think it should
yeah,
be a hospital requirement. Because if you
yeah,
really think about it at the bare bones of it, let's just say you don't watch TV and like it's glamorous, but let's say somebody comes in and they have some bloody wound and you have to put tubes in and there's blood everywhere and they almost die on you a couple times and maybe they do, maybe they don't. Either
mhm,
way, it's quite drawing to your body. It's quite traumatic. The stress response is real. And then
mhm,
the after stress of seeing bloody towels on the floor and all the things. And
mhm,
I can think of a patient who had an overdose and we intubated. And listen, every time I eat, I hate to gross people out, a Chipotle bowl, I think about him because he threw up rice and beans and
mhm.
it looked like Chipotle. Another guy, he had the same issue, pot roast. These are stuck in my mind. That's trauma.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember the story you told me recently about there was an accident at the ER and you talked about that the paramedics I think got time off and went
Right.
to but can you share?
And I can't even go into detail on that
We don't go
story.
into all the detail.
Yeah, but I don't want to that. So we had a case and it was a motorcycle accident. It was very gruesome. And
Mhm,
it was hard to do. And as hard case to deal with. And the people who brought him in are the paramedics. And after that, I didn't see them for a while. Like, what happened to him? What's going on? Oh,
mhm,
they had to take mandatory time off. They had to go to counseling, get cleared before they can come back.
mhm.
Doctors don't get that. Nurses don't get that. You should have you should have some counseling sessions. You should
For free,
decompress.
for free,
It
honestly.
should be some debrief. It should be part of the hospital salary. It just should be a,
Mhm.
a benefit.
Mhm. Agreed, agreed. And so you also told me something that I was shocked about too, about the number of Black women medical doctors leaving the field. Can you talk about maybe some of the unique pressures that Black women medical doctors encounter and speak a little bit on the large numbers of Black women medical doctors leaving the field?
Yeah, that's so, think about it. Black women sit at the intersection of both sexism and racism. And so
Mhm.
just encountering that day by day in your workplace, some places are worse than others.
Mhm.
That's difficult.
Mhm.
Secondarily, a lot of Black women are the first, maybe even the first to go to college, most definitely the first doctor. And
Mhm.
then when you have that, you have the external family pressures. So
Mhm.
you're trying to raise your family
Mhm.
and pay for your kids to go to school, pay your mortgage, pay your bills, plus pay your student loans back because you
Mhm.
probably didn't come from wealth.
Mhm.
And you probably take care of your mom and dad, or you take care of some family members. I know I've paid some family members' tuition. I've helped out with this and that. That's just life,
Mhm.
and that's stressful on top of going to work. So you go into this job and it's toxic, and you're like, I can't quit because all
Mhm.
these people are dependent on you.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
and and it eats away at you. So one of the fastest growing populations, and I think I've read some statistics where the largest populations of burnout doctors are Black female physicians,
Wow.
and that they're leaving at a higher rate and higher rates of depression and suicidality.
Ooh. Wow. And okay, I have a few follow-up questions because I know for many of us as Black women, we want to have a Black woman doctor. And so it's so sad to hear, number one, that they go through so much training and experience and all that kind of stuff, and then they're leaving the field, and we can understand why. But it's sad to hear that. And for Black women who are medical doctors, um, because a lot of things are your colleagues. What are some of the things that they have said to you in terms of maybe what they have tried to do in the field to try to heal while working in the job? Because I'm
You
wondering
know,
if they thought like you, like I got to pivot out 'cause I can't heal here, or what has been their experience when they recognize that this is taking a toll on them.
some people pivot out, but what I love that some people are doing is maybe cutting back and creating some non-clinical income so that
Mhm.
you don't have to put as much time there because at the core of it, most of us just love being a doctor. See, I love the fact of being a doctor. I love the work of taking care of somebody. I enjoy doing stitches. I like, it's satisfying to fix somebody's uh, displaced bone, stuff like that. I like it. It's fun. I enjoy helping somebody get through something.
Mhm.
I don't like the systems. I don't like that. What I think hospitals do and systems do is they take that love that you have for that altruism, and distort it and try to
Mhm.
get as much out of you as possible. And that's diabolical
Mm.
because they can tell, like, when you show that, oh, I just love this. And they're
Mhm.
like, well, if you love working full time, then let's have you work double time.
Oh,
You know,
so exploitation.
exploitation for sure.
Mhm.
Because they know you love it. And most industries have a cap, like you can only work so much. There's not that in the hospital. Like in driving, like if you drive trucks, I think there's a 15-hour limit.
Mhm.
I've worked 24-hour shifts one time. I've been asked to work a 36-hour shift before. And I was like, 24 was stretching it. 36, I'm gonna hurt somebody. That's not safe. I don't care what's going on.
Exactly, exactly. So they don't care about your health, but and you're just like an animal, like just production, production, production. But how could you work 36 hours? That's not even feasible. That's just not even.
Mm, no, people have done it.
Oh my gosh.
So you take little naps, and there's a call room, and you just keep going. They beep you when somebody's there, and you just go, go, go.
Wow, wow. So in terms of what Black women medical doctors experience in terms of the depression, so you talked about the exploitation in terms of time, the family pressure. What are some other issues that may be contributing to the depression of Black women medical doctors?
Well, I think it might be the chronic stress, and how that chronic stress can end up causing like autoimmune diseases. And so
Mhm,
you're dealing with your own failing health, your mental health, and having to work all the time. And most
mhm,
of us feel like we have to work one, two, three jobs, to make sure that we can pay the student loans back, which
mhm,
usually are massive. The average student loan debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't even remember what the number. Last time I checked was 250, 300.
mhm.
So you're paying your loans back. Now you have to live somewhere. So you got a house and a mortgage and some kids. And it's just a lot.
It
It's
is.
just pulling, and then, if you're married, trying to stay married,
Mhm,
it's just too many hats. So I would say that the happy doctors that I do know,
Mhm.
they own their own practices. So they're taking back some control in that way so that they can have normal hours because you can still be profitable and work human hours, but the corporatization of
Mhm.
medicine leads to the exploitation.
Got it.
And and then there are doctors who do things like something called direct primary care or concierge medicine. Some people do functional medicine. These are all cash-based practices where they're not dealing with the toxicity of insurance.
Mm.
Insurance is the devil. I
Oh.
owned a practice for a while, and this is what insurance will do to you. So, first and foremost, you see the patient and you build the insurance.
Mhm.
A lot of times they play this game where they will deny you when you're like, I built this same coat last month and they paid it, but this month they deny it and
Oh.
they deny it and they deny it. And so now you're slow to get your money back. Now you're trying to live. This is how you pay bills. Imagine I've had something that I worked for and billed for in January, didn't get paid for it until June. And that's
Mm.
just a bad cash flow cycle where you're
Mhm.
appealing, resubmitting. It's a game, and they know it's a game. And once you realize this is the game they're trying to make you lose, it's just exhausting.
Oh, it's crazy making. It's crazy making. So, Dr.
Mm-mm.
McKenna, what was the point that you realized that the ER work that you were doing and the way you were working, it was not sustainable? Like, what was that moment that you were like,
Mm.
mm,
Well, my mental health took a, a dive. I mean, I just don't want to be here anymore. I
mm,
antidepressants didn't work. Nothing was working, and so I was like, I can't keep staying in the same level of toxicity, or I might do the unthinkable.
mm,
So I had to back it down and figure out what else is possible. Find alternative streams of income. A
mhm,
good friend of mine helped me out a lot while I was running that one practice. 'Cause at one point, I was working full time at the ER and trying to run this practice. And my friend was like, "This practice is not you." Because I was like, "Okay, let's spin it off into this practice so I can get out the ER." That was dealing with insurance companies was even more toxic. I would never do that again, and I would never deal with insurance companies ever again.
wow.
So as I was doing that, my friend was like, "Pam, you're the brand. Should be speaking. You should be doing other things." So I started doing that. And that's when I was like, I enjoy this. And then the fact that people will pay you for it, then
Mhm,
that's what life should be. You should be doing something you enjoy that does not drain you.
right.
And just my KPI now is, does it make me happy?
Yeah, exactly. And you're a two-time TEDx speaker. So how did you get into speaking? How did that even happen?
I told you the friend that recommended me to do a TEDx, and it was due on March 31st, and she gave me the application on the 27th, and she's like, apply, and I got it. And after that TEDx, people were asking, well, do you speak? Do you do keynotes? And I was like, no, I just was doing a TEDx. I thought that was, you do the TEDx and that's that. And then people asked, do you have a book? Do you coach? What do you do? And so then I started to figure those things out.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. And then from there, you were able to pivot out of so much work in the ER.
You're right. So I don't work many shifts, maybe, once or twice a month now. I have one today.
Mhm,
But it's at my leisure, when I can, because most of the time it depends on the season. I'm traveling. Like in May, I have to travel a lot, and I have to, but get to for speaking events.
mhm.
I'm even going to do the commencement at my medical school.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing. Okay, okay. And so when I think about like Black women, like I said, a lot of Black women ask me about, can you show me how to heal while I'm in a toxic job? Have you had people say that to you or ask you that question?
Yes, and I get it. Some people, we got to be real. Some people can't readily get out right away. I was in
Mhm,
that situation.
mhm.
Like, you can't just leave
Uh-huh.
because how are you gonna eat? How are you gonna
Mhm,
live?
mhm.
It can make the despair you feel even worse. And so
Yeah.
being strategic, but trying to heal in something that is constant. So it's analogous to trying to, for me, sewing up your wound and you cutting yourself again. And sewing
Oh,
up the wound and you cut yourself again. It's
oh.
just undoing, you get healed and you undoing, like you could be in this job and go to therapy, but then
Mhm.
you get the same injury again.
Right.
And so until there's a culture shift in the toxic environment you're in, then
Mhm.
you're not going to be okay there.
Mhm.
It will, some people try to compartmentalize. I don't know
Mhm.
if that works.
Mhm.
Um, I would suggest thinking about what else is possible because I think all of us have something else in us that could generate income that we never thought to tap into.
True.
And and when you have and then when you start to do that, get a little faith for it, I can tell you right then and there, the job feels a little less toxic because it feels a little less like it has a hold on you. It feels
Right.
a little less like I have to do this.
Mhm.
It feels like, you know, um, yeah, I'm doing this, but I have options. And
Exactly.
options take the weight off.
Exactly. Exactly. So I wanted to follow up a few things that you said. One is oftentimes when Black women ask me that question, they have fused the thought that I have to stay at this particular job, or you're telling me to leave right away. And I never tell Black women to leave right away unless there's an immediate danger, right?
Mm,
Physically, psychologically, okay, go. But I'm talking about strategic exit planning. So when I talk to Black women and they ask me that, I say, well, honestly, nothing I can say to you will help you heal. However, I can offer you some short term coping as you're preparing your exit plan to get out. Now, the other part, Dr. Buchanan, and I'm wondering from the perspective of a Black woman medical doctor. Um, for Black women medical doctors, because they have reached such a high level, okay, and because you have definitely demonstrated how you have been able to pivot and do all these other things, do you find that sometimes that there's like a mental block for them too and thinking that they can make money somewhere else? Because for me, I didn't want to leave because I was like, well, how am I going to place my income? What am I going to do? Even though I was licensed and all that kind of stuff, but I still had that mental block. So I'm wondering for the Black women medical doctors that you work with, is there sometimes like a mental block that you have to
mhm.
talk to them about you can take your skills and do something else?
Of course, of course, of course. Because I mean, this is high income. You're
Mhm,
talking people making 300,000 and 400,000 a year.
mhm,
You don't just walk away from that.
mhm,
You have to be strategic. And
mhm,
so for me, it was like, okay, you do math. You're a smart lady.
mhm,
You know math. You had to do math to get into medical school. And
mhm,
so for me, I was like, okay, what is the math? How much do I have to make to replace one shift? How much do I have to make to replace two? How much do I
mhm.
have to make to go three-fourths time, then halftime? And what does it look like if I buy my own health insurance? How much do I have to make? And just systematically, and it took like a year of systematically decreasing, but
Mhm.
I would not ever advise abrupt, burn it all to hell type of stuff.
Right, right, right. And so your healing journey, if we were to identify it for people, it was to identify multiple streams of, because it sounds like you were very strategic, right? So it took about a year out. So you identified multiple streams of income. What were the other elements of your healing journey?
You know what? Honestly, I started to take better care of my health, like working out regularly.
Hmm.
Exercise is definitely a part of healing and depression. And
Hmm.
and I ate real food because when you work in the hospital and you work in a busy ER shift, you don't eat right at all, and you eat on the go, and
Hmm.
so you get all out of shape and wiggle woggly. And I realized I was drinking too much Diet Coke and eating beef jerky and calling that dinner. That's
Oh.
not real food. That's all poison. But that's what we do because there's no time. This case, that case, this case. Let me just grab a bag of whatever, fill in the
Hmm.
blank. You don't
Hmm.
have time for anything with a knife and a fork, which is what you
Oh.
should be eating.
Oh, oh, okay. And I remember, and just tell everybody that Dr. Pamela Buchanan and I met through a previous coaching program, which we will not name, but we
Mhm.
are now in another coaching program called Brick by Brick. So shout out to Casey Brown and Coach Bridget. But you said something one time that was, it was hilarious on one of the coaching calls. I don't even know if you remember this, but you said you have a personal trainer because you didn't want to have six. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. I said I got a personal trainer because I didn't want to have six butts, but I used the A word. I don't. You leave it up to me. I ain't running nowhere. I'm not exercising nothing. I went to see him this morning at 5 o'clock, pissed off the whole time. But afterwards, I was like, okay, good. That's good. I felt accomplished, and it increases your dopamine, so you get crap done. And
Yeah.
so, I know it's good for me. I don't want to do it.
Right, right. So for Black women who are watching right now, what is, because I know you're on the panel about at the summit about how to heal from toxic jobs, and we don't want to give all the goodies away, but what do you think might be one golden nugget that you could share with Black women watching right now about healing from toxic jobs? Because they're gonna need to come to the summit to get the rest, but what's one nugget that you could share
I
with
think
them?
I think the nugget is we think that stress is the enemy. Stress is actually good. It's
Mhm,
just the fact our relationship to stress is bad. We're so used to having this chronic stress,
mhm,
wherein stress is good for a short, acute period. Like if a bear was chasing you, that's when stress is supposed to happen. But we as Black women are living every day like something's trying to get us. And that's why we're sick. That's why we have autoimmune diseases. We need to do better with our stressors. And so, how do you do better with your stressors? You put yourself first. It's
mhm,
counterintuitive because you already, if you grew up like I grew up, average Black family, there's big mama and she's always taking care of everybody. So that's what's modeled to you. And
mhm,
so you take that and you throw gasoline on it by becoming a doctor because now you're like, I take care of everybody. It's what I do. I'm the one you got this cape on and you working like a crazy person. It's not human and it's inhumane. But what
mhm,
about when you really start to reframe and put yourself first? Put yourself
mhm,
first. And when you start to really take care of yourself and you develop that sense of worthiness, then you don't want to do that anymore. You're like, I'm going to take care of me. Set a
mhm.
hard boundary, and then you feel so much better. Those autoimmune diseases probably lessen, sometimes even go away.
Okay. So, did you experience? I'm wondering if some Black women experience this because we're so used to doing so much for everything and everybody and all that kind of stuff, right? Did you experience any difficulties prioritizing yourself? Because I'm wondering if other Black women might have
Mhm.
challenges with that.
I did a lot of mind shift work. I did a lot of reframe, and
Mhm,
I feel like you got to get into therapy, get a coach, because in and of yourself you don't want to. It used to be very hard for me to sit down and do nothing, and
mhm,
so working with therapists is like you got to have a day where you're resting. So I try to do that on Sundays. I typically do, and now we call that my no day. I don't do anything that day. I go to church, I brunch, and I used to have to sit on my hands so I wouldn't do anything. Like just
mhm,
sit on, just enjoy the movie,
mhm,
just don't do nothing, you
mhm,
know. And
mhm.
and and then I just have to just not go, walk around the house and like, let me do some laundry. Oh, well, let me wash the dishes. I'm not doing anything. You deserve to not do anything sometimes.
Exactly, exactly.
And
So those reminders,
there are other people can do it. You could tell the kids, hey, go wash the laundry. Why do you do it?
right?
You going to
Everything.
work every day. They can do it.
Exactly, exactly. Now, you mentioned about therapy, you mentioned about personal training, you talked about getting other resources, right? So with coaching, we're gonna touch upon this a little bit, just a little bit. Okay. So with getting a coach, what would you say to Black women about identifying a good coach or coaching program or using discernment about that?
I say a real good way is check receipts. See if there's somebody who's been through that program before.
Mm,
Get a recommendation like you do when you find a plumber, a
mhm,
contractor. So you've been through that program. Was it any good? Did it help you? Were there any red flags? That's what
mm,
I've learned from being in programs that did not help me.
yeah.
And I mean, and right now, the internet streets will tell you. You go to Reddit, subreddit, and then if you see this coach that you're about to engage with all through there, and then you get some some extra validation from some real person, then you got to say, well, hey, you know?
Listen, pay attention. Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. So, Dr. Buchanan, what about Black women? Because I hear this a lot from Black women about, when their identity becomes fused with their job. And I'm wondering
Mm,
how much does that happen with Black women medical doctors? Because they go through so much to
mm,
become a medical doctor, right? And even though you're saying to them, you can still be a medical doctor, but maybe not in the ER room, does that impact their views about themselves as a medical doctor if they're not in the ER or if they're not in the hospital? And how do you
Yeah.
support them with that?
Most people who go on the journey to become a doctor started, I mean, in elementary school. They started saying, well, I need to be an honor student. I need to get good grades. If I want to be a doctor, you're in middle school and you're like, well, I got to get grades so that when I get into high school, I'm in the honors program. I know that's what it was for me. And
Mhm,
then once you're in high school, you're like, I got to get honors. I have to volunteer. I have to do all these things so that I can get into a good college, so that I can get into medical school. It's always a so that, so that, so that. I got to do great in medical school so that I can get into a good residency, so that I can get a good tending job. I got to do great
mhm,
in my job so
mhm.
that I can get promoted and go up the ladder. It's all these things. So you put so much in yourself into it longer than most people do in their jobs, right?
Right.
And so it's similar to someone training to be an elite athlete. You know how football players have a hard time leaving the game. It's the
Mhm,
same for a doctor. It's the
mhm,
same for me. I'm still working through that. You
mhm.
know, like really like, when am I gonna stop picking up shifts? Do I need to still work in the ER? Why do I do it? What happens if I don't? You know, though, all those things.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. And what about the Black women? I'm just talking about Black women across the board. The Black women who, let's say, are in a toxic job and they'll say things like, I'm not gonna let them push me out. I'm gonna prove to them that they're gonna, that they're gonna respect me. I'm gonna try to stick it out until I retire or my child graduates. And let's say the job is very toxic, right? Let's say the medical impact, what medical and mental health impact would you say that has on Black women who kind of stay in that, even though they're continuing to be harmed in these work environments?
Well, the body keeps score. It's very true. You should know the true impacts of the chronicity of stress. And so if you're finding that, hey, I got rheumatoid arthritis that's getting worse. I have lupus that's really getting worse. And I'm
Mhm,
having flares all the time. I have, Crohn's and it's always flaring. The toxicity of the chronic stress of probably the job, and then the way that the job probably makes you so that when you're home, you're not pleasant. And so
mm,
your whole life is all stressful and unpleasant. At that point, your job is risking your health. So that's a whole different ball game. That's more than I'm not gonna let them push you out, but you're letting them kill you.
oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
so also, who is the group that has the highest hypertension? It's Black women. And hypertension is also a thing that's linked to chronic stress.
Mm, mm. Okay. So hypertension. I was also thinking about the autoimmune diseases. Can you speak a little bit more about that? Because I know so many Black women have lupus and other autoimmune. Can you speak a little bit
Um,
about that with Black women?
autoimmune autoimmune means your body attacks itself. So your body is attacking its own immune system.
Mm,
So this happens 80% of autoimmune diseases are in women. So it's more common in women. And if you think about the average woman's life, especially one who works, because a lot of times the household items are not taken away.
mm,
The distribution of labor at home is not equal. And so
right.
women are generally make working two jobs. So
Mm-hmm.
the second shift is your home. And so
Mm-hmm.
that is stressful. So the thought is that there is some epigenetics, meaning that there are genes in your body that lie dormant, that if they turn on, you get this disease. So you might have a gene to have rheumatoid arthritis and it's
Mm-hmm.
dormant. You will never have it unless you stay in a chronic stress state for too long and now the gene turns on. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why your job could literally kill you.
Mm. Okay. Okay. This is the random question I want to ask and move on to something else. Are autoimmune diseases, are they reversible? Can they be reversible?
Well, the expression of it can be lessened,
Okay.
but reversible, like I say, it's just always there. It's
Hmm.
just the expression of it. And it
Hmm.
just depends. Most of the time, once you have it, you have it. It is what it is because it's already caused that destruction.
Mhm, mhm. And, it's interesting when you talked about the hypertension, I just remember, like, my blood pressure was spiking at the top of the job. It was just
Mm,
spiking, spiking, spiking. I think that that's so dangerous because many times we don't know that our blood pressure is spiking. I just happen to know because I
mm.
went to the doctor, but Many of us don't know that. So now that you've pivoted out and you've created your own business, can you tell us more about your own business? Like what kind of work you do there?
Yeah. So now mainly I speak for a living. So I like to speak on chronic stress and the way that stress is not a problem. We need stress to survive, but it's our relationship to stress. Living in chronic stress is what will kill you. And when we learn how to control our stressors and reconnect to our purpose,
Mhm.
then we're able to perform at a high level sustainably. You can perform at a high level sustainably. You just need to know how to manage your stress. So I like teaching that to teams. That's the main bulk of my business. But I also have found that I enjoy helping other people learn how to the journey of beginning to become a speaker. I enjoy helping other people learn how they can, especially physicians, Black women physicians like me, how you can pivot and make non-clinical income. And those are the things that I enjoy. I run a group called the Link to Speak Club and Link to Authority, where I help physicians and high achieving professionals help brand themselves. I know a lot of doctors are afraid to be online, to show up, and I get it. They're afraid of HIPAA, they're afraid of their job and what the policies may be,
Hmm.
but there's a way to safely post without breaking those laws, and I've learned how to do that. So I share.
Okay. Okay. So even if they're not sharing patient information, what would make them fearful of
It
being on?
okay. So for instance,
Uh-huh.
when a doctor says something, it can be taken as clinical information. Like this
Mhm.
doctor said that I should do this. And
Okay.
let's say a person goes and does that thing and they have
Uh,
an adverse outcome. All right.
mm,
And so many doctors are stuck with saying, this is not for clinical information, just really preface this is just, for entertainment purposes. This, I am not your doctor. Those
mhm,
types of languages, or I don't give any medical information that is geared towards anyone. So blanket statement that I am not anyone's doctor. I'm just a doctor, and this is not for your clinical consumption. Check with your
mhm.
own doctor. So those
Right.
types of things are really, really scare doctors from posting, and rightfully so.
Mhm.
But if I were, say, a wellness influencer and I didn't have any medical credentials, I could just speak about this green juice. Just drink this green juice and it will cure every bit of cancer. This happened for Bob, Cindy, and I could say that over and over again. No
Mhm.
repercussions. There are no laws against that.
Right. I agree. I agree. Yes. And I have to be mindful of that as well. And I see in the chat, she's right. Applies to therapists too. We have to be careful what we say and how we say it. I completely agree. I completely agree. So, Dr. Buchanan, as one of the panelists of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women, where you're going to be talking about how to heal from a toxic job, let's say a Black woman is watching this right now and she can relate to so much of what you're talking about, right? And she's thinking, you know what? I can relate to what you're saying. I'm thinking about coming to the summit, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. She's on the fence. What would you say to her?
I think it's good to come because it's good to have community and know that what you thought you were suffering through in isolation is so very common. It's so
Mhm.
common. And it's good to hear some tactics because you're just staying there and not knowing what to do and hearing someone say, well, this is how I did it. Here are some options. You could ideate and figure out a better path. That's what I think the beauty of it is.
Okay. So everyone, I'm going to show the trailer to the summit, and then we're going to start winding down after I read the community chat. Okay. So let me share my screen and show the trailer. Okay. See. Okay. There it comes.
Are playing in our faces, aren't they?
Mm.
And now with this new administration,
toxic jobs don't just ignore your brilliance, they make you question whether it was ever really real.
How does stress show up for you physically? Brain fog, headache, feeling on edge.
Thinking about who you were before the workplace, maybe you were bold, soft, curious, creative.
Leaving a toxic job is not just about emotion. You need to be strategic about it. you get to tell your own story. You get to start all over if you want to. Toddlers don't know limitations. Allow your inner child to play and create the world that this world told you was unimportant.
To shift the way in which you think about how money is earned and moving from scarcity to abundance mindset.
I make money easily and effortlessly.
So again, we're open and signs are revealed to us. We need to pay attention to that and be courageous enough to follow up with that.
Make sure you read your company policy.
Where can we get $1,500 a month? If it's bringing in over $1,500 a month, then we are financially free.
My freedom is in the desire, and my freedom is in the action. If you are waiting for someone to give you something that they benefit from keeping from you, is not going to happen.
Can you view yourself as accomplished without a job that says you're accomplished?
But if you are talking about liberating yourself, you're going to have to be number one. You're going to have to be not selfish, but self-full. You're going to have to get familiar with the idea that you will no longer tolerate toxicity in any shape or any form in your life.
It looks like this summit is about jobs and work and money, but this summit is about your dreams. This summit is about your life, a life beyond your wildest dreams.
The 2026 third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women happening online May 1st through the 3rd. Registration is open.
And Black women, we do not panic, we pivot.
Oh, I love being a Black woman. If I got to come through this experience again, please, Lord above, make me a Black woman. I don't want to be anything but.
Okay, so that is the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women. So again, registration information is in the description section. Dr. Buchanan is one of our panelists at the summit. So I'm going to start reading the community chat. If you have any questions, please put that in the chat. Put a Q next to it in front of it so we know it's a question, okay? Toxic jobs do more than drain people. They teach people to second guess their own judgment. Healing starts when you start realizing the problem was not always your work ethic. Sometimes the system was unhealthy and your body knew it before your mind accepted it. Good point. Good point. Hey, Marissa, good to see you. Let's see. Thank you for this, Dr. Buchanan. I have so many family workers who were our nurses. My aunt was the head of nursing at Kings County. I never knew what y'all went through. TV normalizes it. The pitch shows more of y'all trauma. Okay, big facts. So true for EM professionals. The Black tax is real for those of us who make it. Yes. Bless you, Dr. Buchanan. I appreciate the time and commitment you put in to get good at your craft. I hope that it's given the value it deserves. Heartbreaking. Trying to drain the life out of you. Does this make me happy, right? So thinking about whatever we're pivoting to, because we work too hard to be miserable. You know what I'm saying? Look, I mean, yeah. Okay. Wow, that's exactly how I felt when I went back to work after FMLA leave. Yes. And register for the summit. It's right here. I love hearing from Dr. B. Me too. You should look at her LinkedIn posts. They're really great. Okay. That's how you have to rebuild your sense of worthiness. By the way, hi sisters. I'm referring several of my therapy clients to the summit. Oh, thank you. Excellent. I love it. If a potential client is not a good fit for working with me, I do my best to help them find someone who is. Yes. Let's see. Absolutely. The work you guys do is so needed. Thank you. Appreciate it. While you're not going to let them push you out, but you're letting them kill you. That is a quotable, what you said, right? So sometimes when we say, oh, I'm not going to let them push me out this job, but you got to think, but what about you? What about your mortality? What about your health?
Don't let them kill you. Don't let them kill you.
Don't let them do it. Yeah. We have used stem cells and exosomes to help mitigate autoimmune conditions. Okay. Stress isn't harmful. Chronic stress is harmful. Yeah, okay, we talked about that part. I experienced egregious racism at my previous program. I just started a clinic and my own business 11 days ago from a Black woman medical doctor. Congratulations. I love that. And also wanted to mention that trailer was created by Roshni Cope, otherwise known as Glamazini on YouTube. Thank you for the reminder, Marissa. I heard the beat drop from across YouTube streets. Shout out to Glamazzini. That's right, Prill. Way to go, Glamazzini. Hey, okay, exactly. So, Dr. Buchanan, any last words that you would like to share with the community before we end for today?
It's just simple. Put yourself first. I mean, the job is going to be there. Jobs are a dime a dozen, especially if you're in healthcare. When I started to realize there's scarcity right now in healthcare, there are not enough of us, right? So you're not going to play in my face. You're not going to treat me just any kind of way right now. Listen, I'm going to the place that respects me. I'm going to the place that is cool with me being how I am. And so I can just work my job without being offended and being offended. You're not going to just, again, play in my face. So that's what I do now. I got to be happy in these latter years. I'm going to be happy.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for watching. Again, make sure you register for the summit and tell at least 2 Black women about the summit. I also want to say, please register for, please subscribe to my channel. It's completely free to just subscribe to my channel. And anything you want follow Dr. Buchanan on LinkedIn. Okay. Oh, yes. I'm looking forward to the summit. Anne-Marie is the truth. Yes, she is. So the anti-HR lady. Yes, she is. So everyone, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Announcement. I'm going to be on earlier tomorrow because my guest is in England. Okay. So I'm not going to be on at 5. I'm going to be on in the morning. Okay. So I'll put a little announcement on my community tab. So I'll be on the morning. So I hope to see you all in the morning. Thank you again to my friend, Dr. Buchanan, for being my guest and for being a panelist at the summit. So everyone, I will see you all later. Take care, everyone. See you all tomorrow. Bye.